How many times have you been told your problem is that you don't have champions in your deals? You need to start building champions. Okay, fair. But I'll offer you this question. If you were to ask your leader what the core competencies are for consistently building champions, what would they say? You see, a competency is essentially our ability to do something well. So the question would be, what things would I need to do well in order to consistently sell with champions in my deals? I'm going to give you those 4 competencies to mastering a champion-based sell now.
Normal is overrated.
What I found when you ask most sales leaders what the core competencies are for consistently building champions, the answers really vary. They're either not easy to understand or not easy to execute. Some sales leaders are what you call unconsciously competent. They're really good at something, but they can't exactly tell you how. Others are unconsciously incompetent. They love to bark at you about what you lack and what you're not doing, but do they truly have mastery themselves? And let's face it, this question is far more about humanity than it is business. We don't build champions out of companies, we build them out of people. And with people, there's nuance and personality. So I'm going to simplify the business focus of this human challenge. The first competency of winning deals with champions that every elite seller is wired with is empathy, and more specifically, buyer empathy. Now you may ask, is empathy an ability or a competency? Well, just think about what empathy is. It's our ability to understand the feelings and experiences of another, even if we haven't experienced it ourselves. And when I talk about having empathetic intent, it's actually taking action on that empathy. So here's my question to you. If you were to expect a buyer, another person, to choose to be your solutions advocate, putting their own reputation on the line for you, then how successful would you be if you expected them to do that without consideration of their priorities, their criteria, their situation? So we not only must have the foundational ability to think with empathy for our buyers, we need to be able to act with empathy. So I'll share these 2 easy steps to strengthening your buyer empathy. Number 1, detach yourself from what you want and attach yourself to the people in the sale, in the meeting. Understand that there's nothing wrong with what you want. We should go into every sales opportunity and every sales meeting with our specific sales objectives and goals. But I'm talking about building the muscle of empathy. And how do we detach ourselves from us and attach ourselves to the buyers? Just say this simple mantra to yourself just before the meeting. Instead of, I'm gonna make them my champion, reframe to, why would they be my champion? And the second step to empathy is to be intellectually and emotionally curious. As I said, it's one thing to feel or think with empathy, it's another thing to act empathetically, empathetic intent. Our empathetic actions all start with the realization that there's something to act on for the buyer, and this comes from our curiosity. But I want you to understand that truly complete and clear understanding of another person's feelings and situation comes from curiosity on 2 levels. Most of us have either heard of or can easily understand intellectual curiosity. Examples in sales would be qualifying the buyer's current state, their processes, systems, technologies, performance metrics. And learning all of those intellectual understandings gives us the facts for understanding our buyer. But to truly master the level of empathy that connects all the reasons why a buyer would or would not choose to be our champion also takes what's called emotional curiosity. Emotional curiosity is our interest in understanding the feelings associated with a person. With all of this intellectual stuff that we're learning about the buyer, how exactly do they feel about that? You see, we're all emotional creatures. We may gain understanding through our intellect, but we act on our emotions. The buyer shares that they operate with these systems according to that process, experiencing those challenges. Emotional curiosity is asking ourselves, so how do they feel about all that? The buyer might walk us through the buying consensus, the different people and priorities that they'll need to navigate in this purchase decision. So, how do they feel about those people and their priorities? Are they a problem or a concern? And does anything about buying my solution make any of that more of a problem, potentially cause negative emotions for them or others in the consensus? Buyer empathy. Now, the second competency to mastering a champion-based sell is identification, and that's identifying champion targets. Are we identifying a champion target by the non-negotiable criteria of what truly defines a champion? So here's the 3 simple but critical criteria I suggest you commit to and never waver from. Number 1, do they have power in the organization, specifically power and authority for the context of this specific purchase decision? Number 2, do they personally have influence over this decision? And this is a question of their relevant credibility with people. Influence is like an asset, something that can empower us to be able to do other things. So, do they possess the credibility relevant to this specific decision that empowers their influence over the different perspectives and beliefs of the people in the buying consensus? And number 3, as a prerequisite criteria of identifying whether they're a true champion target, is do they have access to the economic buyer, the person or persons who have discretionary authority to say yes to approve the spend. Now, by the core and ultimate definition of a champion, this is someone who's going to be actively selling on our behalf. There's going to be a lot of people to sell to, but none with more authority over approving this deal than the economic buyer. Now, hopefully your intelligent reaction to this is, well, this would be assuming that we know who the economic buyer is, and that would be the right response. So in terms of core competency, assuming that you can trust who you believe is the economic buyer, which could be a video I do for you in the future, this competency of identifying the right champion targets will have to include ensuring that a buyer has access or the ability to reach and communicate with the economic authority. Now, if you follow these 3 strict criteria and avoid the noise of all the other potential personality or situational buyer traits, you'll find yourself mastering the second competency of identifying champion targets.
Quick pause. Now, if you're getting value, please hit subscribe, tap like, and drop a comment so more people can find this and I can help more people. Now let's get back to it.
The third competency of mastering a champion-based sell is building, the competency of building champions. Now, if this was some easy competency to go pick up, then I wouldn't have written a whole book about it. Sellers struggle to build champions for many different reasons. So I guess we should start with you. Let's just take a self-survey. Would you say that if you struggle to consistently build champions, is it because either A, you're ignorant, and don't react so negatively to that word? It just means that you lack the knowledge of either the importance of champions or what the criteria of a champion would be. Or is it B, you're disillusioned, meaning that you too often believe you have a champion when you really don't? C, you're desperate. You just don't have enough pipeline, and so you feel desperate, willing to work any deal that falls into your lap. Or is it D, you're arrogant. You believe that your product or your individual talent is all that you need. Look, if you can't build a buyer into a champion, then you can't benefit from the strategy and pure gift of them actively selling on your behalf. So why don't you take this quick quiz across my 5 elite sales habits to building and winning with champions? Whichever of these sounds like a gap in your normal sales routine is probably where you'll find the most opportunity to grow as a champion builder. Question 1. When you meet people in your sales process, how natural are you at creating emotional connections? Meaning, in sales, do you often disarm buyers, or do they respond to you with conflict and objections? Or do you tend to really connect them to you personally and the potential relatability and relevance of what you sell? Number 2. In your early sales conversations, how strong are you at leading a buyer's vision? Do you sell capabilities or do you sell outcomes? And are you able to lead a buyer's vision to the unique outcomes that you can deliver? Question 3. Once you believe that you've gained some real interest in what you sell, are you more likely to sit back and wait and see if your champion decides to commit to you? Or do you strategically inspire a buyer's commitment to you? Elite champion builders go right to the source with curiosity and strategy. If you regularly inspire champion commitment, that means that you ask and qualify what their commitment gaps are, and then you strategically work to fill those gaps. And this leads us to the 4th competency of leading a champion-based sell: activating. And of all the buyer roles and characters that could be activated, this competency is about activating champions. All that people-centric empathy and curiosity, identifying champion targets and building them into champions, well, it all means nothing if we can't get them to take action for us. Yes, so understand what I'm about to say. Many leaders will tell you that it's all about building champions, but just know that these champions are people too. They have a lot to lose if they put their reputation out there for us and then they get burned. The whole point of us sellers working to diligently identify and build buyer champions is so that we can get them active in our revolution, preaching and defending from the mountaintops why our solution is the only choice to solve their problems and deliver their desired outcomes. So how strong are you at getting champions active? Well, let's keep going with the quiz. Question 4. Are you an accidental trust builder or an intentional trust builder? Even when you have champions, how often do you see them hesitant to take the actions that they committed to you? Do your buyers regularly move across the mid to late sales stages with trust gaps that keep them from taking action on your behalf? And question 5, when it's time to get the deal done, aligning the consensus on the justification, negotiation, executing the agreement, are you in the trenches with your champions, removing work off their plates and empowering them to overcome their internal obstacles? Or do you sit and wait? Have you ever been outsold sitting and waiting? Or do you proactively empower your champions to win? Look, identifying champion targets just isn't enough. Elite sellers work with routine habits that make the difference in gaining the connection, commitment, trust, and empowerment to build and win with champions. So if we want to master a champion-based sell, then it's going to come down to 4 core competencies. 1, buyer empathy. Our ability to lead with the curiosity of a buyer's situation and emotions while learning just why they would or would not choose to be our champion. 2, identifying champion targets, all by the discipline of what defines a true champion target. Power in the decision, influence over the people, and access to economic authority. 3, building buyer champions. And this starts with your personal struggle as to whether you need clarity of what a true champion looks like or the right mindset and habits for how to consistently build them into your champions. And 4, activating champions, qualifying their motivation and empowerment gaps, and then moving mountains to fill those gaps. Empathy, identifying, building, and activating. If there's other enterprise sales topics you want to hear about, share in the comments below, and I'd like you to answer this question. If you feel like you're strong at building champions, what makes you so successful? Friends, if I'm helping you in any way, be sure to bump that like, subscribe, and then click on the screen right now to watch another video helping you to master the human sell and elite level sales strategy. Thanks for watching.